You're listening to Slow Medicine Radio. You can find out more about the show and the work of Dr. Michael Finkelstein by visiting his website, slowmedicinedoctor.com. Slow Medicine Radio is sponsored by the Slow Medicine Foundation, dedicated to providing community-centered, experiential, and reflective learning for individuals, families, and groups, offering educational programs, events, and resources, as well as insightful health evaluations with customized medical guidance. Dr. Finkelstein works with his wife, Robin Queen Finkelstein, at their farm, Sunraven, in Bedford, New York. And they invite you to visit and take advantage of this unique resource, including men's and women's groups and couples programs. If you think about it, much of what we experience when we don't feel well is a result of the fast world and how it affects us. Therefore, if fast is the disease, then slow is the medicine. Visit Sunraven, the home of slow medicine in Bedford, New York. Go to slowmedicinedoctor.com or call 914-218-3113. And thank you for tuning in Mondays at 5 p.m. right here on 1460 WVOX.
Welcome to Slow Medicine Radio. Today I have the distinct pleasure and honor to speak with Dr. Deepak Chopra, the author of many books, including his most recent, Super Genes. Recently I've spoke to his co-author, Dr. Tanzi, on another podcast which you can listen to on Slow Medicine Radio at www.slowmedicinedoctor.com. Well, welcome, Dr. Chopra.
Thank you.
The excuse for me to speak to you is the recent publication of Super Genes.
Mm-hmm.
However, your writings and your speaking about a subject, consciousness in particular, has interested me for a long time. And, as a physician, I'm drawn to the subject of helping people, especially when they have an illness. But when I think of the concept of consciousness and our thoughts and how they affect our body, I'm wondering if you can share with me to begin your thoughts on if there's a purpose for the illnesses we have beyond just the excuse we have then to take care of ourselves. I mean, is there a greater issue that we're going to take care of as a result of facing our illnesses?
I think one could say that an illness is a sign that we need to understand ourselves better, that an illness is a lack of harmony between you, the physical body-mind, and the elements and forces that make up the universe. That includes everything from your personal relationships to your social interactions to your environment to planet Earth and ultimately the total universe. In the paradigm that I am exploring, your body-mind is an activity of the total universe, which is also a body-mind. So your body and mind are not separate, they're complementary aspects of a deeper domain, which is awareness or consciousness, which actually has no dimensionality whatsoever and can't be even conceived because as soon as you conceive it, it's the mind. So consciousness being the fundamental, primitive, ontological substrate of all that exists. So when we are experiencing an illness, something is out of balance. Healing, the word healing is the same as the word holy, which is the same as the word wholeness. So healing is a return of the memory of wholeness. Ultimately, in the biggest picture, it is finding out who you are. Not a body-mind, but an immeasurable consciousness that is experienced subjectively as the mind and objectively as the body and the universe.
Yeah. In the book Super Genes, I pulled out a quote, which is the body as a community. You talk about the cells as community that organize much the way a bee colony organizes to be a single organism. And I'm wondering, in this concept of consciousness, individuals suffer from ailments and this challenge, as you just placed it, but is there a collective operating at the same time that you believe in, and then are we serving that collective?
Yes, the collective right now is manifesting in the world as eco-destruction, contamination of food which is processed, manufactured, refined, has artificial ingredients, usually petroleum products, There is climate change, eco-destruction, extinction of species, war, terrorism, an unsustainable planet, which is reflected also in our individual biology because our individual consciousness is a localized manifestation of that. So our planet is diseased for sure at the moment. It's hardly a peaceful, sustainable, just, healthy, happy collective. So the individual being a product of that, it's a feedback loop that goes both ways. The collective influences the individual feeds back on the collective. That's why true healing cannot be just physical. It has to be emotional, and ultimately it has to be spiritual. If you are truly healed at the level of spirituality, then that's a much bigger healing. It doesn't, you can still die of an illness, but you have found yourself.
Yeah. When you think of all of this, this is somewhat of a question to understand you years ago when this maybe first dawned on you, all of these things which now maybe are more or less common to forethinkers. Are we going someplace? Is this collective, as much trouble as you've identified that we're in and the feedback that we're getting now, and people are moving ahead because they're taking this on consciously, where are we going to go?
We're certainly at a crossroads. Some people say that the next mass extinction could be a result of the dysfunctional collective consciousness that we have created. Other people say this is an opportunity for a critical mass of consciousness to be creative. Certainly the old paradigm of trying to solve problems at the level of consciousness at which they were created is not going to work. So, you can kill a terrorist, but you can't get rid of the ideology of terrorism that incarnates as the terrorist. If you want to change that ideology, you have to come up with a better ideology, a higher level of awareness. That requires personal and social transformation at a massive scale. And it's daunting and challenging, but it's doable. The fact is that the planet or universe self-corrects itself. If insects disappeared from our planet, life would cease in 5 years. If humans disappeared from our planet, life would flourish in 5 years. So we have to recognize that we have become the predator. We're almost like, almost a metaphor like cancer, multiplying, metastasizing, gouging, plundering. We are not aware that the planet is our host, and we are cells in that. So unless that major shift in consciousness occurs, the planet is ready for self-correction, whether that's in the form of climate change and climate refugees and new epidemics and, massive suffering. Sometimes massive suffering in the individual produces a profound change, a shift in that individual's awareness towards wholeness. Massive suffering collectively can do that too.
Do you have an intuitive...
Sorry, I'm not sounding too positive, but you ask these questions.
Well, I know you've done a lot of interviews. I mean, that's an understatement. And you must be asked many questions repetitively. And I wanted to come up with things that were a little different and give you an opportunity to share some of your deeper insights and intuitions, perhaps those that you haven't shared or you're thinking about now currently on this particular day, because to me, that's what we need. We need, and I agree with you that we're at a crossroads, so we need some critical mass to take us over. And I think it's voices like yours that are inspiring people to see the responsibility, but also the opportunity and the great potential, as you put it in so much of your writing. So there's so much great potential. So I just want to give you that platform to add something, perhaps something you're currently thinking of.
Well, we have to change entirely how we experience reality. And so current science is based on what is called subject-object split. There's me, the scientist, and then there's the cosmos. There you are. So somehow I am separate from that which I observe. That's how science works. It's based on what is called subject-object split. The scientist and then everything else. The shift we need is me, the scientist, the observer, is also an activity of the universe. So at the deeper level, I am the universe looking at itself through a human nervous system. And this is the gift we have as human beings. Animals don't interpret their experiences. raw experience is just sensations, the sensation of touch, smell, sensation of taste, the experience of sound, and it is the experience of touch, solidity. But there's no such thing as an unheard sound, and there's no such thing as an unseen rainbow, and there's no such thing as an unfelt solid object. When you go deeper into how we experience reality, you'll realize that reality is just consciousness and its modifications that we call sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts. This is the raw material of reality, consciousness and its modifications. Consciousness or awareness that modifies itself as sound, touch, sight, taste, and smell, images, feelings, and thoughts. So if you are going to remodel reality and create a new science, I would like to call this science, and I can send you a Prezi that describes all this. We have to call this science the science of the human universe. The experience you and I have right now is a human experience, including its interpretation. And there is a way to shift this through what I call qualia science. Qualia, just like a quantum is a unit of measurement of energy, qualia is a unit of experience. The experience can be mental, cognitive, emotional, or it can be perceptual, but all the universe is happening inside you. By you, I don't mean the person, you, because even the person is an experience in the deeper awareness. What you call a person is an intermittent stream of sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts that is never quite the same. You're not the same person you were 10 years ago, physically, emotionally, intellectually, or whatever. So the shift we need is to the deeper reality where we suddenly see that we are members of one body and members of one mind, and that by changing the quality of experience at that level, we can actually change what we call the physical experience of the universe.
That's far more than most people seek when they go to a doctor.
Yes. Well, that's all right. Doctor can operate at many levels. Yeah. There's a physical level when there is, an acute illness. Then there are other levels, emotional, ultimately spiritual. Who are we? What is the meaning of death? And are we a person, or are we at an awareness in which the person is arising as an intermittent stream of sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts, which in fact are modified forms of the awareness that is our true home?
When people come to me, I often want to have a conversation with them about their own personal life's purpose, because I believe understanding that for each individual gives them the energy and the motivation to go beyond some of the conventional. I'm wondering, I have a two-part question for you. One, what you conceive of your life's purpose, and second, when people see you and you advise them, if you do, on the subject, how do you help people find and identify what theirs might be?
Well, my purpose at this moment, in this stage of my life, is to actually ask the most fundamental questions of existence, which are, what is existence? What's the universe made of? And what is the nature of the awareness that makes it possible for me to understand existence? So my purpose right now is that. What's the universe made of? And how do we know that there is a universe? How do we know that we exist? How do we know that anything exists? And that really has to be do with the bigger idea of healing as well. The bigger idea of healing, which is the return of the memory of wholeness. Health, healing, wholeness is the same thing. We have divided the world into subject and object. We have divided the world into mind and body. We have divided the world into biological organism and the universe. In fact, it's one unified activity. It's not even a thing, because what we call things are frozen snapshots of a moving field of possibilities. That's my purpose. But, I do ask people when I try and get to the level where people are in their own life. So I ask them if they enjoy their job, if they have any idea what their long-term career should be, if they have a higher calling. So if your daily job, your long-term career, and your higher calling, higher purpose, which is ultimately to know yourself and to know the nature of your own existence, are in alignment, then I would say you found your purpose. Can you give me your email? I'm sending you an email right now, which will tell you what I'm about right this moment in my life,
Good.
where I am.
What's
your email?
Michael@slowmedicinedoctor.com.
Okay, it'll come through in a little while. Don't worry about it. Let's keep going.
Thank you. So what have I not asked you today in the few minutes that we have remaining?
Well, there was so much.
What do most people ask you?
Most people ask me about, various things. Right now, of course, they're all talking about genes and epigenes and microbiome. But, I don't think of anything physical as real. It's a symbolic representation of consciousness and its modifications. But most people don't want to go there.
Right.
I am actually planning a movie around this, and my next book is called You Are the Universe, and hopefully it will deal with this topic if we ever get there.
Do you find that it tries your patience a little bit when people keep pushing on the physical realities of their life as the only thing that exists, and they somehow affects whether they can see more broadly and beyond that?
It doesn't surprise me because that's where we are in life. So what can you do?
Yeah.
I'm patient, but I don't think we actually understand the nature of existence.
Right.
And also the nature of what we call reality.
Yeah. So people wind up somewhat in a stuck place, like in an eddy in a river, I think of it. Instead of flowing downstream and moving in the current, they're off to the side in somewhat chasing their tails.
They decide in chasing their tails. But see, I mean, the number one open question in science today is what is the universe made of? And we don't know what it's made of because 70% is what people call dark energy, which is moving the space between galaxies faster than the speed of light right this moment. Of the remaining 30%, 26% is dark matter, which is invisible and non-atomic, so we can't interact with it. We don't know what it is. We call it matter because it bends space-time in the same way as regular matter and therefore holds a galaxy together through its gravitational effects. That leaves 4% of the universe, which is atomic. But of that, 99.99% is invisible interstellar dust, which is mostly hydrogen and helium. So the visible universe, which is all the billions, hundreds and billions of galaxies, and literally hundreds and billions of stars, and probably trillions of planets, is 0.01%. So the 0.01%, which we call the visible universe, is made up of atoms. But atoms are made of particles, and particles are also waves. And unlike particles which are supposed to have units of mass and energy, waves exist in what scientists call mathematical space. And they're not made of anything, like water waves. The ocean is made of water waves. Sound is made of waves of the atmosphere. The waves that give rise to reality are made of possibilities. Bottom line, the universe is made out of nothing. Then the second hard problem, this is the number one problem in science, open question. The second open question in science is, what is the biological basis of consciousness? How do electrochemical phenomena in the brain give rise to the experience of a three-dimensional world evolving in time, including color and sound and texture and taste and smell? And that's called the hard problem of consciousness. So, number one, we don't know the nature of existence. And number two, we don't know how we are aware that something exists. And despite that, we can do amazing technology. We can create jet planes and probes that go to Mars and the internet and everything else. So that gives rise to a real paradox. We can use science to create technology while at the same time causing, because of the subject-object split, the side effects of climate change and global warming and extinction of species and mechanized death. And yet we don't really know what's going on. Arthur Eddington, one of the greatest scientists of all time, he said something unknown is doing we don't know what. So what we are experiencing through the scientific model is not really a reality, but a representation of reality that we interpret as the material universe. Just like when you look at a rainbow, you have to have your consciousness, you have to have raindrops, you have to have the sun, all in a certain configuration to see the raindrop. Is it real? Well, if you change your position, the rainbow disappears. Is it a representation of something else? Of course it is. Similarly, what we call the physical world is a representation, and that includes your own body, of consciousness and its modified forms that are sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts. So consciousness is that in which experience occurs. Consciousness is that in which experience is known, but it is also that out of which experience is made. So the paradigm I'm trying to explore is behind the representation of the experienced reality that we call matter is a matrix of possibilities that is our own self. And unless we really get there, we won't be able to change what we call reality. But ultimately, reality is subject to revision.
It's a beautiful story, I must say. It's not only does it entertain us and fills us with all these opportunities for very deep, thoughtful conversations that thrills us, just the anticipation that maybe one day we'll understand this better, but just the creativity that results from the unknown, from the unknowing.
Yeah. That's all there is. There's the unknown and possibly the unknowable, because, we're a 3-pound nervous system and we don't even know how it works.
Yeah. But we know a lot more than we used to, and we're still, maybe we could say we're not nearly as well off.
Still based on a physicalist ontology. Our ontological problem, our ontological primitive is still that there's something physical out there. And that's why all the problems.
Yeah. I want to be mindful of your time. I know you said this is about your...
Yeah. I'll send you my 2 articles in this week's and last week's Chronicle, and I sent you the treatment, my Prezi, which I'm going to be actually presenting at the Science of Consciousness conference.
Thank you very much, and take care. Be well.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye. You've been listening to Slow Medicine Radio. For more information, go to slowmedicinedoctor.com and find out more about this show and the other work that we do at Sunraven, the home of slow medicine.
Listening to Slow Medicine Radio. You can find out more about the show and the work of Dr. Michael Finkelstein by visiting his website, slowmedicinedoctor.com. Slow Medicine Radio is sponsored by the Slow Medicine Foundation, dedicated to providing community-centered, experiential, and reflective learning for individuals, families, and groups, offering educational programs, events, and resources, as well as insightful health evaluations with customized medical guidance. Dr. Finkelstein works with his wife, Robin Queen Finkelstein, at their farm, Sunraven, in Bedford, New York. And they invite you to visit and take advantage of this unique resource, including men's and women's groups and couples programs. If you think about it, much of what we experience when we don't feel well is a result of the fast world and how it affects us. Therefore, if fast is the disease, then slow is the medicine. Visit Sunraven, the home of slow medicine in Bedford, New York. Go to slowmedicinedoctor.com or call 914-218-3113. And thank you for tuning in Mondays at 5 p.m. right here on 1460 WVOX.